Welcome to another edition of Dead Air Live. Tonight we have Janos Stone, who is the inventor of the mobile app called MeCube. Welcome, Janos.
Thank you. Thanks. Great to be here.
So, Janos, tell us, what is MeCube? What is MeCube? How did it start? Who is Janos Stone?
Okay. Well, MeCube, as you mentioned, is a mobile app that lets you 3D, I should back up, it's simple 3D software on a mobile app that lets you make a simple 3D design, and then once you're happy with it, you can save it and send it to a 3D print company. They'll 3D print it and send it back to you. So it's one of the first applications for your phone that lets you 3D print directly from your phone. And I certainly would like to go into more depth on that later,
Okay.
for sure.
Sure.
And one thing I thought would be kind of maybe fun to look at is some of the early artwork, because I'm actually a sculptor, trained as a sculptor.
You're a sculptor?
Yep, trained as a sculptor. Went to, got an undergrad degree in sculpture back in the mid-90s and worked as a professional artist for, still am, so it's been 20 years or so. And all of that artwork led me to this app today. So I thought maybe we could start by looking at some of the earliest artwork and kind of move up to where we are now.
Okay, so let's, so we're going to look at your traditional work first.
Yes, yeah, I thought, so in undergrad, I studied some very traditional technologies and practices. I worked with clay and wood and stone and very sort of old school materials, and really studied form and volume and very sort of the real fundamentals of sculpture. Yeah, if we could have a first slide if they're ready.
Sure.
That'd be great. And I'll show some of the things that I did and move on from there. This first slide I like to show is of 4 cubes, and I always show this because it's for me kind of where I started out. I started out, I sort of like to say, in clay and cubes. So as a kid, I used Legos and wood blocks and clay and this sort of thing.
Okay.
And everybody really learns to be creative as a child using these types of objects and, of course, games and so forth. So I sort of like to show this as sort of my earliest stage. So if we could see the next one, please. I'll kind of go through, like I said, a few different, next slide. Go through a few different pieces and just talk about some of the...
So, well, let me ask you something.
Yeah.
You said you started off as a young person and you started getting your ideas. When did you have that aha moment? Were you 5 years old and said, you know what? I want to be an artist. I want to do this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
When did that happen to you?
Oh, boy. I mean, I would say it was probably a little later. It was probably more, maybe sort of middle school.
11, 12 years old?
Yeah, 13, yeah, something in that neighborhood. It was, I wish it was sort of an aha moment, but it was really more looking back and into high school, looking back at the things I've done and sort of thinking to myself, well, it looks to me from the things that I've experienced so far that maybe I should pursue design and sculpture and so on. And it was because I was looking back at those blocks, those cubes of clay and those
right.
cubes, and sort of, it seemed to me that was a good trajectory to follow.
Okay.
And at that age, you just go for it. So,
You're free to do whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagination.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the second slide that
Yeah,
we're
so
looking
let's
at.
have a look at some of these things. I'll kind of just go through some of them, give you a sense of some of the work that I had done. I think you'll see that the work that I was making really worked to try to capture moments in time and then, really kind of memorialize them in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. So this piece here is, for example, one that I use very traditional kind of calligraphy work to brush out some of these forms and create, this is actually a family tree done in ribbons.
Wow.
So you can sort of see that there's a lot of symmetry and balance, and so these were the things that I was very interested at the time.
And tell us the components that each one is made up of.
Sure. Okay. So the first was plaster. This is actually made out of cast iron, and believe it or not. And so
Do you
again,
have to melt that?
yeah,
to-
absolutely. Oh yeah.
I mean, how do you get cast iron to behave the way you want?
Well, this was done in a foundry process. So I
Okay.
made these first in wax, and then they were made into metal using lost wax. So there again, traditional materials, traditional techniques, and really building up, a vocabulary of traditional.
Do you have to sketch when you begin?
Oh, absolutely.
So you start off with a pencil and a piece
yeah,
of paper.
sure.
You sketch it out and you
Sketch
say,
it out, yeah,
this is
using-
what I want.
Yeah, absolutely. Using the computer as well, actually. Let's have the next couple slides, please. And I think you'll get a sense. This is actually, believe it or not, a doorbell that I made in a parrot theme. So, and let's we can just go through a few of them, I guess. This piece was a portrait, a box that I made for a woman who had 5 children.
Oh, okay.
So if we could go through the next 5 slides, you'll
Sure,
see
and it's the family,
each
right.
one is one of the kids.
You said it's a box? What kind of
It's
box?
sort of a cabinet. It's a wooden, it's all hand-built wooden carpentry work.
How did you get the heads?
I modeled those in clay.
Oh, so the clay is on top of the wood.
Well, it was modeled in clay,
Yes.
and then again, like those letters in cast iron, this was cast in bronze.
Wow.
So yeah, so very kind of traditional work.
How do people find you to know what Janos Stone wants the artist
Right.
in the researcher? How do they find you?
Oh boy. Well, these days I've moved away from this kind of work, and if we can move to the next slide, I've moved into a much more sort of traditional type of work. Sort of conceptual kind of work. This piece here was actually done in Second Life, and if some folks remember that a few years ago, and was a portrait piece of a few folks that I was interviewing in this work. So kind of what was interesting, what happened was I worked for about 10 years in this very traditional way, and then moved into a much more contemporary, but you'll see in the next slide that I kept some of the traditional stuff. So this piece here is hand-carved drywall. So I actually was able to remove the paper and then carve right into the plaster to create these works. And we can go through the next few, and you'll see how that worked. And this work was really not as much about the technique and the formal as before, because now, of course, I've spent 10 years working on that. And here I was more interested in the ideas behind it. This is work that's meant to exist and just be experienced, as opposed to being commemorative and sort of capturing that moment in time. What we're moving into is the more contemporary artworks. Yeah. So, and we can actually, if you'd like, scroll through a few more, just so the audience has a sense of it. The contemporary work, I started to think about this notion of the fact that we all kind of more and more every day exist between 2 different worlds. And those are the actual world that we're sort of sitting in now,
Right.
and the virtual world on the computer. And I got really interested in kind of what happens in that space between the actual and virtual world. And you know, it seems to be getting bigger, and we're spending more time in there. And the 2 different worlds are starting to seep into each other. And so, asking a lot of these questions, eventually I saw my first 3D printer. And it was about 9 or 10 years ago, before it had kind of gotten, into sort of mainstream view. And I thought, oh, okay, here's a tool that's a sculptural tool. It makes 3-dimensional objects, but you can import things into it, volumetric things. You can export them back out again.
Right.
So it was like a porthole for sculpture. to travel between the actual and virtual world. And I said, I've got to use that technology. That is the future. That is,
Wow.
you know, as a designer and an artist, and as a human being that lives in the volumetric world, it was clear to me that if there's a machine that could help anybody make three-dimensional objects, that's got to be important, because that's the world we live in, is a three-dimensional
Right.
world.
We see everything in 3D.
We are 3D.
Right.
It couldn't get more...
I'm looking at you in
yeah, exactly,
3D.
exactly. We couldn't get more close to reality than that.
Right.
So, so I sort of filed that away for a few years and tried to use the technology a bit. But the problem was that in order to actually make a 3D print, you needed to know very complicated 3D software. And bear in mind, this was 5 or 6 years ago. So you needed to know AutoCAD or one of these very, you know, time-consuming to learn
What is
technology.
AutoCAD?
It's used in architectural modeling
Okay.
or engineering, you know, big programs. It takes many people, it takes most people many years to learn these
So you're
programs.
learning about the way light and lines
Right,
meet.
right. So I'm coming from this very traditional, artistic, so I can create things with my hands. I know how to do this. I know about volume and I can perceive form very well, but I can't get the 3D printer to do what I want because I don't know you know, the software to run the printer.
So how do you get the printer to behave?
Well,
I'm using that word behave.
exactly, right.
I mean, what is
Exactly.
it? You know, to do what you want and
Well,
produce the end product.
Exactly.
Because I was thinking about this. I'm saying, how does he make the way you have everything all set up? Light has to hit the light and the lines. Because when you're doing a photograph or you see the way the sun hits something, you have everything lined up that it looks.
Sure, right. Compositionally.
I mean, how do you make
formally.
that happen?
Well,
Left to right, top to bottom?
oh my goodness. I mean, that's
Exactly.
years and years right there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. How does he do this?
Yeah.
And I was trying to get into your mind today, and I'm saying, I don't know, he's got a different mind the way he thinks about
Yeah.
things.
Well, I really loved the idea of spending a lot of time with a piece of clay and trying to get it to become that portrait of somebody.
Right, right.
I really loved the idea of working with a concept in the more conceptual, traditional work, or sorry, contemporary work,
Right.
and trying to get that concept to really take shape for the viewer. So,
Okay.
so I think I took those skills when I ran into this issue with 3D printing when I didn't know these programs.
Right.
And maybe I took the long road because I suppose I could have just learned AutoCAD. But it seemed to me also that maybe there was an opportunity to make a new tool that would let anybody use a 3D printer.
Okay.
And so that's when I made MeCube.
So now, what are the advantages? Let's talk about applications, about people using a 3D printer. Like, how can you save the planet? What's the big picture besides it being a load of fun?
Right, right.
I mean, it's fun. You say, "Oh wow, look what I made." I was
Sure.
playing with it today, and I'm saying,
Cool.
This is awesome."
Yeah.
And I was reading about people. There's young, there's old, any age. Everyone gets into it because it's almost like it's a game, and you're building stuff.
Sure. Yeah, well, so MeCube was certainly meant to feel a little bit like a game.
Okay.
And that was intentional. So when I was faced with this issue, I realized what's missing is really simple software, a really easy way for anybody just to make something kind of like virtual Legos, little
Okay.
digital Legos.
Yeah.
And we'll do it on a mobile device because people have them with them wherever they go.
Sure.
And they can make these little objects, and you're not going to make an engine, or you're not going to design a house with
Well,
this.
that's what I'm asking. Could they at some point?
Well, you certainly can with 3D printing technology.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
like, I mean, can we get inside the human body? What can we see? Can we go
Gotcha.
into space? Is this something that the government can use? You know,
Oh,
what? I
sure.
mean, this seems like it's bigger.
oh, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. I mean, all of those things you just described are happening right now. Absolutely. Big industry, government, schools have adopted this technology, and they're using it in the medical industry, in aerospace, in practically you name
MeCube?
it.
They're using MeCube?
No, 3D printing.
Oh,
3D
okay.
printing.
Okay.
Yeah, no, MeCube, I should just explain. MeCube was the point of it was to be very simple software to let everybody make a 3D print.
You wanted everybody in on the
I wanted
fun.
to democratize it.
Yeah, you want everybody to have fun.
Absolutely. I wanted everyone to just have a fun time, make a 3D print, because what I discovered is once you've experimented and made a 3D print, it is an aha moment. You've kind of crossed the threshold, and now you understand what this technology actually does.
I didn't want to come here tonight. I wanted to play with MeCube.
Okay. Excellent.
Because
Yeah.
I'm saying,
Yeah.
this is what it's designed for.
Yeah.
It's designed to have fun.
Exactly. And these little things I brought in today.
Yeah, what are these little things?
Well, these are all models that were designed using
Can
MeCube.
you hold that for the camera?
Sure. You
Because
guys can see this.
hold
This
it
is a
still
little-
so the camera can like zoom in on it.
This is a little Polaroid camera that somebody built using the app.
Oh, okay.
And you can see it's just cubes and angles and color.
Right, and they're all straight lines.
And it's all very straight.
lines.
Yep. And that's intentional. It means that the software it keeps it simple and easy
And
to use.
I
This
noticed
also-
too, like there's different colors in that.
Yep.
And what are these made of? Plastic?
Well, what I like about this material is that it is, as you said, it's got 300,000 colors
Turn
available.
it for the camera,
Sure.
turn it around all
Sure.
sides.
It's a little video game console.
Oh, very
And
cool.
this printer, this particular 3D printer, prints in full color, and it actually uses basically a plaster as its base.
Okay, so if just help me to understand. You buy a 3D printer,
Right.
yes? And so what does this printer cost? It sounds like it'd be outrageous.
This one would be outrageous, but they do have some printers now getting in the hundreds of dollars.
Okay, and how does the printer spit out
Sure.
something plastic? I mean, where does it come out? The side, the front?
Right.
I mean, how does it know how big? I mean, come on.
Right, exactly.
How does this happen?
So most of the technologies work in a similar way, and that is that they lay down layer upon layer topographically.
Oh, I see, okay.
And it slowly
it's like an
builds up.
MRI.
Exactly.
Where they go slice, 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 slice,
Exactly.
slice.
Exactly.
Oh, I got it, okay, cool.
And so it lays these layers down topographically and slowly builds an object. And these are a plaster base. This little subway car is plastic.
Okay, but
Yep.
let's get back to the printer. Does the
Okay.
printer have the plastic inside of it?
Yes.
It does.
Yes. Yep.
Is it only plastic? And so where does it spit it out? The side, the front?
Well,
It's
usually-
almost like a baby being born.
Close. Yeah.
You know,
In
you're giving
some
birth.
cases, yeah, absolutely. So most of the time, the printer actually starts low and then rises up and moves around like this and slowly rises up. So the object actually grows in front of you.
Now, is there a limit on how high or how wide?
Yeah,
It would seem that
It depends on the printer. Some of them are the size of, an average family living room.
The printer?
Yeah, and they can make huge car parts.
Okay, so can I go out and buy one of these printers?
Well, if you had a lot of money, you probably could.
Okay.
But for most people, no.
So it sounds like you should be in the Museum of Science, and kids should be coming in, and everyone should be able to make their own little MeCubes.
Completely.
And they go into to the gift shop, and they get their little whatever they create.
Absolutely.
And this is very scientific. It involves math. It involves architect. It involves design.
Right.
It involves creativity. The Museum of Science will make money. You'll make some money. It's a win-win situation. Museum of Science, are you listening to this? This is a great idea.
Sure, yeah.
So all they have to do is buy the printer.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, I'm sure they may even have a few, because some of them are relatively inexpensive. So
This is exciting.
no, it's a really interesting time.
Okay, so tell us about, what is that? Is that a camel or a
This-
horse?
This is a little homage.
hold
This is a stack of skeletons.
Oh, that's skeletons.
It's made out of plastic.
Oh, I thought it was like an animal on the bottom.
Yeah, no, it's a cow and a dog and a cat and a chicken.
Okay, so how do you get your MeCube to decide to create a cow, a dog, a chicken?
Right. Well, I built this. So I started with, it's like Lego. I built it with little cubes and slowly built this up
So you
in the app.
physically built it?
Oh, in the app.
In the app?
In the app, yeah.
And how long did it take you to build this?
Oh, that one took me maybe 45 minutes.
Hold that still for the camera.
Oh, sure.
Just hold that up. Yeah, because that is pretty crazy looking.
Yeah.
It looks like a prehistoric, maybe a dinosaur in the bottom. What's the bottom one?
It's a donkey.
It's a donkey. And what's the one above that?
This is a dog and a cat and a chicken.
You have a crazy imagination.
Well,
Do you go to sleep thinking about this stuff?
Well, I can't take full credit. This is a little replica of another artwork by another artist. So
Okay.
it's a little homage, if you will, to something that he made.
And can I pick up this
Yeah,
over here?
absolutely. That's an
This-
interesting one.
This is a cube that says H.
Yes. And that is 3D printed ceramic.
H, is that a U?
It's a C.
That's a C.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an HC. Does this stand for anything?
Yep. This is a wedding present I made for my cousin. It's a sample of one of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is this a good wedding present to give?
I don't know. I haven't given it to them yet.
Is this their initials?
It is.
So this is a very nice wedding present.
I hope so.
Because this is taken.
And it has a wedding date on there.
Oh my God, look at that.
Yeah. And so I made this using the app.
What
and
is,
it's
it's
3D printed.
2013.
Yep.
Look at that. Look, can you see that? It says 2013. Oh, I'm looking the wrong way.
There
Over
you go.
here.
Yep.
Yes, what? Okay. Okay, let me hold it. Wow, that's crazy.
Yep.
Oh my God. And it has an H, a C, an H, a C, an H. How long did it take you to do this?
That one took a while. That took a couple hours. Yeah.
Okay, so they're going to be happy with this.
I hope so.
Are these people close to you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a strange gift, but I think they'll appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay, so, and this over here, this is a little cow.
A little cow, and that's and what's fun about that is that when someone makes something on MeCube, when they're finished with it, they click a button and it sends it to a company called there's two of them actually, either Shapeways or Sculpteo.
Okay.
One's in New York. Shapeways is in New York. Sculpteo is actually in France, in Paris. And those companies will 3D print it because they have the printers, and then they mail it back. And so somebody somewhere in the world made this, I don't know who, using MeCube.
How did you get it?
Well, because what happens is when they upload it to the site, everyone's models all go to the same place.
Oh.
So you can go there and see what everybody's done. There are hundreds and hundreds
Can you
and
just
hundreds.
get it for yourself?
Yeah, you can get one for yourself. Yeah.
Do you have to buy it?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, what does that little cow cost?
Oh, that might cost $7.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And what is that made of? Because it feels a little grainy, like
Yeah.
sand.
This is the same full color plaster material.
And I noticed one of the things I love
Yeah.
about your MeCube is you could pick a color, you
Right.
can add a color to another color,
Yep.
and it's almost like you're a painter, and it'll change the color.
Exactly.
You can have different types of consistencies. You can have plastic. You can have something that's made of sand,
Right.
wood.
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
crazy.
So that's
You're
exactly
a crazy
right.
dude.
Well, I'm part of a crazy conglomerate of folks working on
Yeah.
this
So
stuff.
this little this is what is this? Is this sand?
It's plaster.
It's
yeah.
plaster, but it's shiny. It's shiny and it's grainy. I like the feel
But
of
it's
it.
hard. It's more like ceramic. It feels like a ceramic.
Yeah, it's
very,
like
very
a stone. It's strong.
Very strong. Very strong.
So if I got a hammer, could I break it?
Probably.
Okay, I don't want to do that. Okay,
It's like a ceramic. Yeah.
So what is this over here?
That is something someone made. That is a zombie surfing a piece of bacon.
Can you guys see this? Zombie. A zombie surfing
So there's a lot of humor out there.
a piece of bacon. This is, I mean,
Yeah.
can you imagine somebody like making this? Like, this is like crazy. Who comes up with these ideas?
Well, that's what's fun. You put this
okay.
software out there, and people do all kinds of stuff, and you get to see what they make.
And how many people know about this in the world?
Oh, well, the last time I checked, there's been about 6,000 downloads of the app.
Wow.
So you figure at least that many.
Now, what's the cost for the app?
Oh, it's free.
It's free?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you make your money when they have these built up?
I make a little bit on every one of these that's sold.
Is that enough to keep you alive?
Oh, no. This was really a labor of love. This was really...
It's a labor
this was
of love.
really... I wanted a way for everybody to have access to a 3D printer.
Can you make a living out of this?
Theoretically, you could.
So
Yeah.
anybody can go and get MeCube.com.
Right, and get the app and play around and make stuff and have it printed, and welcome to the 3D printing revolution, I suppose.
And so when you say they have it printed, they send this away somewhere, and then they can have this model sent to their house for like under $10.
Sure.
Does that include shipping?
Well, it depends on the object. You basically pay for volume. So the
Oh.
bigger the object, the more it costs.
And how big can you go?
With generally, let's say, a cubic foot.
So,
you know,
a foot, 12 inches?
Yeah, like a basketball kind of
Wow. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
This is fantastic.
Yeah. So from MeCube and from the artwork, about a year and a half ago, I was invited to direct some projects at Northeastern University
Right.
here in
so,
Boston.
So you work there. That's your daytime job.
Yes and no. I'm sort of a visiting researcher, so I'm there kind of part-time, and I come and go.
And what position do you do there that?
I do a lot of different things. That's why it's hard for me to sort of describe exactly. I don't have a title, as it were.
You don't have a title?
No, I'm sort of I call myself kind of the sort of the mad scientist of this
Really?
stuff, because I work on a variety of different things.
So when you got hired, how did you get hired?
Well, the first thing that I did when I got there was I directed a small group of students. We had some PhD mathematicians, and we had some undergrads in art and design and computer science.
Okay.
And we made an interactive website, which we called ANA, which stands for Alphanumeric Avatar.
Oh.
And what ANA was a way of exploring an idea that I had of data stored as objects. So this is a 3D print made using ANA. And this is all 26 letters of the alphabet and the 10 numbers stored as a 3D object. And you can go to ANA, which is northeastern.edu/ANA.
Right. I've been there.
And when you type, you'll see there's an interactive display. And when you type, your keystrokes will be transformed into these little totem poles. And so it's capturing that information, a small amount of information, as an object, which can then be 3D printed. And this was a fun, challenging project for us, this small group, to work on, but really, I think, is a small peek into what I believe will be an extremely important technology, and that is data stored as an object. And with 3D printers, we can do that in an interesting way that hasn't been done before. I see it as taking us in a few different directions. If you think about historically, there have been many different objects that contain data.
Right.
Like a totem pole, an actual one, or an Egyptian obelisk. This is a physical object that had information carved into it, and 4,000 or 5,000 years later, information's still there. So that's a clue into the first thing that got me excited, is the idea that this is made out of plaster. But if this were made out of titanium, it would last forever.
Would it?
It could.
Okay.
Certainly could. And that means that if you could take these little digits of information and reduce them in scale, you might be able to store a lot of information in a 3D printed metal object for a long, long period of time in a very robust way. And I believe that there's definitely technologies that can spin out of this idea. I also see it as an encryption technology, a way of taking information and turning it into shapes and color, which can't be read unless you know the code, and actually being able to carry this thing around, and maybe you show it to your computer, and your computer reads it, and
Something
it unlocks
like a
something.
spy would.
Could be used in a variety of different ways.
So
yeah.
you're saying that information, someone could walk around with this information held in, let's say, titanium,
Sure.
go across the globe,
Right.
but it can only be read by certain computers or whatever.
Yeah.
That's very powerful.
That's one vision I have for it. Yeah.
This sounds like
so you
something the
see,
government, yeah.
Yeah, you can see how there's something there.
This
yeah.
sounds like something, they should make a TV series out of this.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
crazy. Is this only that this information can be held in titanium? It can't be held?
No, because this is information right here. And we're actually working on a mobile app that you show to your phone, and it reads this. It would decode what this says and tell you what it says.
Wow.
So
This sounds like this is a little tricky here.
yes, it has some complexities for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And when you started this, did you think about stuff like this, or was this part of the plan, or?
Yeah, I
It
thought,
is.
let's develop this and make this first interactive website. And I do encourage people to go and type and play with it, and they'll see. And
Wow.
once I had that proof, it really started to sort of show which other directions it went.
Is this something that, I'm just going to throw this out here. Is this something that maybe doctors can use? Some information can be put inside your body, and maybe your heart can read something through, I mean,
I like that.
I'm just saying, like, let's say people are having a problem and their body's breaking down, but there's some information that can be read through the stuff that's over here, and it can, because we're all energy. We're
Right,
energy.
Right.
Can
I
you
love
imagine?
it. I love it. Why
if
not?
we can heal ourselves
Why not?
through 3D printing that's read with something in our body instead
Sure.
of, like, it's almost like a chip
Right.
that has like information that can be read through the electronic stuff in our body.
That's a great idea. I like that.
Do you like it?
I do. No,
Beautiful.
I do. I mean, they're already 3D printing. I should say they're working on 3D printing drugs that are custom tailored for you.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So they're working on an idea in the vein of what you're describing, but I like yours kind of more. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's sort of using the energy of
Well,
the actual body.
Yeah, because the body reads things through we're energy.
Right.
I mean, right now I'm supercharged just thinking about that.
Right.
Being underneath these lights and
Yeah.
being around all these wonderful people in the studio
Yeah.
talking to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
This
it's
is
fantastic.
great.
So, and that's what just happened here, I think, is what gets me so excited about 3D printing, because it's such a kind of new technology in terms of it getting into the public space,
Right.
that when people start to think about applications for
Anything's
it,
possible.
there's so much to do. It's like the internet in the late 90s. It's like nothing's been developed yet. It's open field. So I believe you can take, and this is another thing I do at Northeastern is try to encourage people in this way, is take whatever it is you do, mix it with 3D printing, and come up with something that's never been done before.
Right.
And that's where we're at. So it's an incredibly inspiring time with this technology. So, and I really encourage people to try it. I have a feeling they'll find something there.
Well, I hope it's not used to like brainwash people, or you can even put some kind of 3D printing into your animals, so they'll be programmed. If they ever get lost, they'll come home. What about people with Alzheimer's? They'll always find their way home.
Sure. Well, they're definitely working on, like I say, the drugs.
What about your
tailored.
hearing? People that lose their hearing, something that triggers people to hear.
Yeah. Actually, that's one interesting thing that's being done. I mean, when you think about 3D printing, one of the main things to consider is the fact that what the machine allows you to do is make something, start with a base object, and then change it a little bit to be personalized for you. So there's a company that makes one hearing aid, but then they take a 3D scan with a laser of the inside of someone's ear.
Okay.
And then they change the shape of the hearing aid to match perfectly the ear canal.
Oh, it's molded to you.
So it's
custom
matches,
made.
It's custom made. And they used to use, rubbers and things like that to do this. Now they just use a laser and a 3D printer. And they can do it very quickly, and it's perfectly matched to you.
Wow.
And so that's what the 3D printers can really do. People talk about this sort of the magic of 3D printers and the 3D printing revolution. And I believe it's that. It's that it's a place where we can make customized objects for people, for individual people.
Right. Do you want to look at that great video that we have?
Oh, sure.
With MeCube?
Welcome to MeCube. This tutorial will walk you through all the functions of the MeCube app and then show you how to make your own 3D print. To begin, tap the Free Play button to enter the design sandbox. Every MeCube design begins with this basic starting cube. Use touch to move and zoom the starting cube. To add color, simply tap a color button, then tap the square you wish to color. To saturate the color, tap a square multiple times. To mix color, select a new color and tap on a previous color. To add or subtract cubes to your design, tap the Add Subtract button. The Add Subtract button contains 3 design controls. Tap twice on a square to add a new cube. To remove a cube, tap once to select, then tap Hold to remove. To add full-color cubes with Add Subtract on, select a color, then tap on the square. To skew a cube, tap on a square. This opens up the skew options. Next, simply tap an option to apply direction. As you work, check the size of your design periodically. Tap the ruler button to open the Universal Ruler tool. Tapping the ruler button again cycles through the 4 scale options. Once you are happy with your design, tap the Save button. Here you will find 2 save options. 2D saves a JPEG image, while 3D saves a 3D printable file. Title your design and tap Yes to save. To check your design library, tap the File menu button. In your design library, you have the option to email your designs to whomever you like. To load a design, tap on its name. To make a 3D print of your design, first tap the shopping cart button. Next, make your final adjustments to the scale by selecting 1x to 4x. Title your design for 3D printing. Tapping Upload sends your design to MeCube's partner company, Shapeways. As your design uploads, Shapeways provides a tracking web address to locate your design in the future. Tap the Refresh button to reload the page and view your design. Once your design appears, select Material Options. Here, you may choose from a wide variety of materials, such as metals, plastics, full-color sandstone, and ceramics to 3D print your design. As MeCube lets you design in thousands of colors, full-color sandstone is recommended. Next, tap Add to Cart. Make sure your order is accurate and tap Checkout. Now, tap Login, which will take you to purchasing via PayPal. After a few days, Shapeways 3D prints your design and ships it directly to you.
Wow, that was exciting. Janos Stone, MeCube.com. So you were saying that you can also print gold,
Yep. Yeah. You
silver?
Can, yeah.
Is there's no limits?
No, I mean, there's at least 25 different metals that I'm aware of that they can print in.
Name
Just the
them.
metals.
Name them.
Well, I won't try to name them all, but certainly you can do stainless steel, titanium, bronze, brass, silver, a variety of different kinds of silver, gold. Yeah, that's the real core of the metals that can be done with 3D printing.
Just imagine a guy wants a woman, okay? He gives her a ring made of gold, but in the gold, there's like something that says, "You will marry me." You will marry me. There could be secret codes
Right.
in your body.
Right.
It's like there could be a brainwashing tool.
Well,
Wow.
let's hope not. Let's hope not.
Yeah, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
that there's the evil empire out there. Most people are good,
Right.
but for everything that's good, people could take something
Of course.
and turn it the other way.
That's right.
So
That's
we
right.
don't want that to happen, though.
No, and actually, that's a good point. There was a lot of press about 3D printing about 6 or 7 months ago when someone 3D printed a plastic gun. Well, exactly. And look, what I say to everyone is, it's technology. It has its good uses and its negative uses.
Sure.
But you could use a car to kill someone, but that's not the point.
Right, the point's right.
So yeah,
Right. So tell us about, let's go back to Northeastern University. Tell us about what you do there, because I know that you have a very exciting job.
Yes, well, it's pretty unique. One of the things I've done recently, and I really applaud the school for this, is they decided to build a 3D printing studio for all the students. And so what that is, it's a place where any student can design something in a 3D program, and they can upload it to this studio, which is in the library, full of 3D printers. They got a huge suite of beautiful machines. That file can be printed, and then the student can go pick it up. It's kind of like how when I was in college, you could go get your papers made, printed, your actual documents printed, and then go pick it up. So this is for 3D prints, and so the students will have access to all of these different technologies to make 3D objects. And so what I did was worked with a couple of colleagues to advise on some of the technologies that we thought would be good in this studio, and help set it up and sort of incorporate it into the library. That's something else I've done there. But I am a researcher and artist and for the school, and so a lot of what I'm trying to do there is create projects that are based around 3 dimensions and 3D printing that are interdisciplinary. So like Anna, we had math, we had engineering, and we had the arts come together to make that project.
Beautiful.
And so what I tried to do, and I'm working on a new project now, which is the arts, chemistry, and engineering. And we're working on a new project that is built off of some of the Anna technology that we hope will help people to sort of be able to authenticate different kinds of products using 3D prints, kind of like little 3D printed barcodes.
Give me an example, and you said different kinds of products.
Oh, could be a circuit board, let's say.
Okay.
Yeah. So there may be, you'll look at the circuit board and there'll be a 3D print on it that'll contain information about the board, and you can scan it like a barcode, and it will be part of the board and help to ensure that it's what you bought.
Is this something that Apple Computer might be interested in, like with their smartphones?
I don't know. I hope so.
Are you making technology smaller, smarter, faster?
Smarter, let's say. I hope smarter. Yeah, I hope so. I hope that, I'm not so interested in the actual 3D printers themselves as much as what we can do with the technology.
Right.
So I think that there is a huge amount of yet to be discovered projects out there, and I think that's why I'm at Northeastern, is to try to uncover these things.
Now, what are some of the things that the students have come up with? Have they?
Oh, well, it's primarily a lot of engineering done there. So what's amazing is many of the students know incredibly complicated software programs. So they build engines and have them 3D printed. They build parts to all their different projects. I mean, this class of student is constantly blowing my mind with what they do with 3D printing. So
Are they doing things with, like, let's say, automotive? Is there anything that you could do
Sure.
with energy? I mean, it's endless.
it is kind of endless.
I'm thinking about the weather patterns. Imagine if there's something that you could do to, for a lack of words, control, like a tsunami or, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, where does this go?
Well, one of the other things I'm working on at Northeastern is, I can describe a couple of the other projects, is this idea that if this is a very sort of calculated mathematical problem, this ANA, what happens if we look at what data could look like as an object from more of the artistic side? So I'm starting to think about designing a program that takes in data as binary code, so just ones and zeros.
Zeros, right, I was
Yeah.
gonna say that, yeah.
And it could be a Billie Holiday CD, it could be a photograph, it could be anything. And the software is, let's say, somewhat intelligent, and it can make choices about it. So it can say, okay, this is music,
Right,
therefore I'll do this. This is a woman singing, therefore I can do this.
Right.
This has this kind of a feeling about it, therefore I'll do this, and make these
Right.
choices. And from those choices, make a 3D file that's then printed. And so this is software that actually is, let's say, inspired and follows a similar sort of artistic pattern that I do when I make my work to produce an object from information.
wow.
So this is a way of, and what I think may come out of that are connections between things we never would have thought of before. That maybe that 3D print of that Billie Holiday CD had things in common with a recipe for a lasagna when you see the actual objects. And maybe when you see those objects, you'll start to see that there are some kind of connections that exist between things that we never would have seen if we didn't actually visualize them in our world, like we talked about when we started.
You're taking everything to another level.
Yeah, yeah. So those are the things that get me very excited, are these ideas.
So you go to sleep at night and this is what you think about.
Yes, usually when I wake up in the morning.
When you wake up in the morning, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Imagine if you could put something in the body that could help people to control their weight. Or imagine if you can help someone who has spinal injury and there's
Sure.
something that you can put in their body that some kind of information that they can heal themselves.
Be fantastic.
I mean,
yeah.
this sounds like it can go to so many levels.
I think it has huge potential, absolutely. Yeah.
And can we say that it all started with MeCube?
No, no. For me, it did.
For you, it
For
did.
me, it did.
So how
but-
many people are there like you in the world
Oh, gosh.
that
I hope a
actually
lot.
no that actually have come up with software like this?
Oh, gosh. Not too many.
Exactly, maybe
Yeah.
on 1, 2 hands, the most.
Yeah, that I'm aware of, yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
considered a genius.
Well, by some and not by others, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is your long-term goal? And I know that we have to, we have a couple of minutes.
Okay, yeah.
What would you like to see? We want to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Leave us your lasting words, whatever you want to say about what you're doing here.
Well, I think I would repeat what I said before, which is that if you haven't done it already, look at 3D printing and think about this idea that here's a way of taking an object and making it personal for a specific friend or relative or person you know, or consumer, or whatever. A way of taking an object and making it specifically for that person is a very powerful thing. It could be medicines. It could be, you know, housewares. It could be anything. And so whatever it is that you do, think about how you might be able to incorporate that technology into what you do. I'm a huge advocate for trying to get people to think about how to work with 3D printing. Because I really think that there's so much out there to be done. And, you know, it could be a fantastic way of creating jobs and getting people inspired to be creative. So,
Well, what I want to know is, do you have any secret message or code in this cube? Did you leave anything?
not in that one, except for just for my cousin.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
wasn't sure. So I want to thank you so much. This is Janos Stone,
Yes, thank you.
MeCube.com or JanosStone.com. You can find out all about him. Check out MeCube.com if you want to have some fun. Think about the future because
Absolutely.
you are taking people now and into the future.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you.